Hi,
Hello,
Rama.
Justinian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rama? Thanks for having me.
Good, good, good. Congratulations on your debut novel, The Emperor and the Endless Palace. I'm also Asian American myself, and I'm always more than happy to help promote fellow talented Asian Americans such as yourself. Now,
It's very
the book,
important.
the book has been described as a romantasy about love that transcends time itself, full of seduction, blood, and sex intrigue, and it features AAPI and LGBTQ representation. But
Mm.
you're here. So let me just ask you to tell my viewers about your book.
Sure. The Emperor and the Endless Palace is a romantasy thriller, like you said, and it spans 2,000 years from ancient China all the way to present day LA. And it's actually inspired by a true story, which is that in 4 BCE, there was an emperor in ancient China who ruled over the Han Dynasty. And he lived in a palace called the Endless Palace, and he fell in love with one of the men in his palace. And he fell so deeply in love with this boy that he handed his entire kingdom to this boy. So much so that when they both died young and mysteriously, the first Han dynasty fell with them. So in my book, they're introduced as like a pair of Romeo Juliet lovers, and I reincarnate them over and over again as soulmates who are bound together by this original lifetime, this curse that they originate in their first lifetime together.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were previously the VP of Creative at Sony Pictures Animation, also
It
previously the head
was.
of development at DreamWorks Pearl in Shanghai. So, how and why did you make that jump from film industry to book industry, and was that a daunting transition?
You know, when I told my parents, so I'm from a Taiwanese American family. I'm the first of my generation to be born in America. I think when I told my parents I wanted to work in Hollywood, this is when I was a teenager. This was like in the early 2000s. I think that they were pretty horrified because like the idea of a creative career seemed like just very unpractical to them. I found myself gravitating towards the business side of Hollywood because I was mentored from a very young age by Linda Obst, who is this iconic Hollywood producer. And when my parents heard that I was going along that track, they really encouraged me to excel in the business side of Hollywood. So even though in my soul I am a writer, I really focused on working on the business side of Hollywood, which by the way also gave me a lot of joy because when you are working as an executive in Hollywood, you're a gatekeeper and you can support other writers who might be not as well represented. So, for instance, when I was working as a VP at Sony, I told my boss that every project I work on, there needs to be someone on the leadership, creative leadership, whether it's the writer or the director, or hopefully both, who is a woman, who is a person of color, who is a queer person. So that's something I really enjoyed about my previous career. But once I sold my book, as terrifying as it is to leave a pretty comfortable job and to set off into just like being a writer who's like trying to sell their next book on constantly just trying to go from like book to book, as terrifying as it is, I don't know, I think it was time for me to try something new, turn over a new page, quite literally.
I can't imagine putting myself in that situation, sitting down in front of the computer for hours, sometimes days on weeks on end until you get to the last chapter. How was that process for you? And what did you do when you had a writer's block?
I love that question. First of all, I don't like to call it writer's block. I like to
Mm.
call it marination. So whenever I'm sitting around not writing, it's just marinating. I'm not blocked because when you use the word block, it gives you an excuse to not write. But instead, when you're like, okay, I might not be writing right now, but I'm meeting new people, or I'm seeing parts of the world that I've never seen before, or I'm putting myself into situations that, might inspire my writing. That's all writing, Nora Ephron said everything is copy, and I live my life with that perspective. When it came to writing this book, it was actually extraordinary circumstances. I was working as an exec, like you said, in Shanghai from 2015 to 2020. And when the pandemic happened, I came back home to LA and I sat in my mom's attic and just stared out at the sky for a couple weeks, wondering what happened to my career. Overnight, my career in China disappeared. And I'd always known I wanted to write this book. So I sort instead of drinking too much, I decided that I was going to finish this book finally. So I wrote the first draft of this book during the pandemic lockdown, in about 2 months. Didn't really eat, sleep. It was kind of a fever dream, and apparently a lot of my readers have told me that my book reads like a fever dream. So I guess it transferred to the page.
Little
Go ahead.
fun fact: I used to live in El Monte in San Gabriel Valley, so I used to hang out in Monterey Park a lot.
That's where I was born. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm always going to be in that. Like, it's hard to say SGV when you travel the world, but so I usually tell people I'm from LA, but I have so much pride being
Mm,
a kid from San Gabriel Valley. Like growing up in San Gabriel Valley in the 80s and 90s, like we immigrants, we really made that community our own. So
yeah.
every time I go back, I have so much hometown pride. And I'm hoping to like do more collaborations with libraries and bookstores in Monterey Park for sure.
So, what is the secret ingredient? What is the key to writing a great love story?
I mean, the greatest ingredient is that you need to have lovers that are very rootable. You need to have lovers that people will feel like they want to that they want to be on that journey with them, right? And what's more, even beyond that, I think it's very important that the reader needs to feel like they are a stand-in for one half of this couple, right? They often talk about like book boyfriends and book girlfriends. I think that's very true because ultimately a great romance invites the reader to imagine themselves as one of the lovers, and that's where all the titillation and that's where all the spiciness really comes into play, right? Like my books are very spicy, and they're also told in first person. I literally invite the reader to like go through all the swoon and the spice and the drama and all of those emotions. I invite the reader to come into that, because they're literally reading in first person.
Please tell my viewers, where can my fans purchase your book or your audio book? Which platforms and where can they follow you on social media?
So the book's available everywhere. Like bookshop.org is a really good option for that. And there's nothing more convenient than Amazon, obviously. Going to your local bookstore is also is a great way to support your local community. Just make sure to call in advance to make sure that they have it. Audiobook, Libro FM, Audible, it's on all those platforms. Apple Books has been a big supporter of this of my debut novel. I'm very grateful to them. So it's pretty easy to find. And to follow me, it's just my name on social media, mostly Instagram, Justinian Huang at Justinian Huang. So on Instagram, and I'm pretty easy to find.
Talk about reincarnation. Hopefully, I get to be an author in the next life. Who knows? That'll be a great morphosis.
I did not expect this, so I don't think you need to wait until your next life, Rama. I invite you to join me. It's terrifying, but a lot of fun.
All right, Justinian Huang, thank you so much for talking to me, and congratulations on your debut novel, The Emperor and the Endless Palace. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.